Hey there, if you are a LEGO Star Wars fan, you've surely heard by now about the new Tantive 4 official set coming from LEGO on May the 3rd. It's the Rebel Blockade Runner from A New Hope, the Corellian Corvette. But you probably haven't heard my thoughts about it, so let me fix that right now. First of all, quick stats here. This comes with 1,768 pieces for $200 US, compared to the 2001 UCS version, which came with actually fewer pieces, though it was a larger set. Not significantly larger, but noticeably larger. That one had 1,747 pieces, and in adjusted prices, adjusted for inflation, that one was $287. The last Tantive 4 that we got was more of a minifig play set, minifig, not minifig scaled, but scaled for minifigs and sold with minifigs. That was in 2009, came with 1,408 pieces, and its adjusted price to today's dollars would be $178. So in terms of price to part ratio, this is significantly better, this new one, than either of the previous versions. And in terms of price to volume of stuff, this is better than the UCS version, the original one, but not quite as good. Close, but not quite as good as the 2009 version. This to me is the best looking one yet, though, with the best proportions. There are a few things about this, well, at least a couple things about this that I do not like. Chief among them being the neck area, just behind the what would be the cockpit or the bridge area. It's just a little bit short at its narrowest point. It needs to be, I believe, a little bit taller along the spine, along that ridge that should have just been brought up a little bit taller. But the way that it's built, it looks like it'll probably be relatively easy to fix that, to correct that shape, to make it a little bit more accurate. I also personally don't like the fins back here next to the escape pods. That's a technique that they've used previously, and I just feel like that space would be better filled with a better, more accurate shape with the longer fins that need to fill all of that horizontal space front to back, if they did them with some wedge plates. Now, I know that a lot of LEGO fans, ironically, hate studs and hate to see studded pieces, want everything to be completely smooth, even though it's LEGO and it's based on a studded system. I understand that, but I really feel like it would have been worth the trade-off to have a better shape here, to just put in a wedge plate for each of those. The level of detail on the outside here looks pretty good, and the overall proportions, especially from end to end, are definitely the best that they've done so far. The previous versions, especially the UCS version, just way too short, just squished from front to back. They've stretched this out. Remember, this craft was derived from the original prototype design for what was going to be the Millennium Falcon. The Corellian Corvette ultimately is based around a long tube with a whole bunch of engines attached to the back of it. So it's intended to be long and relatively sleek, and LEGO has finally gotten much closer to that proper look. I like what they did for the cockpit, and I especially like the separation that forms part of the outside, the exterior shaping, and how they brought some of that build towards the inside. That just it looks about as good as I could ask for it to be at this size and scale. I like the fact that all of the cannons can be at least rotated around on one axis, and the major ones on the top and bottom can also be raised and lowered. They've got some stud shooters built in underneath, and those are very easy to leave out if you don't want to see them. But even if you do put them in, they don't really stand out too much. I think that's a very respectable integration. And I like the fact that they include a handle. They did the same thing that they've done with the Star Destroyers, most recently, to allow it to be picked up from one single point, which just gives you maximum swishability for such a fairly large and definitely long and surely fairly heavy build. I don't like the use of the gunmetal gray. I believe that's gunmetal gray and not black hard plastic wheels. For the engine nozzles, those really should be the same color as the hull. Those should be white. And I like the texture that they used, the texture that you get from using those wheels, but I don't like the color. I feel like that's just not a good choice there. Should have been gray at the darkest, like light gray at the darkest, but I think white would have been a little bit better. The entire ship is supposed to be off-white. This also has a little bit of interior space in the center of it that you can use when you lift off the center of the fuselage, the top of it, roof area basically, to set up some basic scenarios in there. But it's not like you can have the boarding sequence. It's not like you can have laser battles, down a corridor. They don't have any corridors here. It's just not large enough for anything like that. And I think that's one of the most important things to have play-wise for especially the Tantive 4 in particular. And there's just no way to integrate that here at this scale. Possibly they could make one of those little, or I guess medium size, like $20 to $25 vignette, scene sets that represents the corridor battle, and maybe have Vader coming in. But I really couldn't ask for too much more at this size out of this. It does have the removable escape pods as well, which are very small, but it looks like they'll do their jobs. For figures, this includes Leia from A New Hope with a robe piece, so that's good. That's something that has definitely been needed, and they spent another fraction of a penny, or maybe upwards of a penny, to also include a set of legs for her so that you can have her in an action pose. You can make it look like she's running, and you can have her sit down, like at the table in the small interior area. So that's good, and I hope that they will continue to include just one single extra piece, like a hairpiece or a set of legs, when it's appropriate, like this. Here's Bail Organa. He looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good figure, and it matches the look of the character with the modern actor. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm actually more happy, though, with the inclusion of Captain Antilles here. And yeah, it's just another good-looking, basically a variant of a Rebel Fleet Trooper, and they also include in the set one Rebel Fleet Trooper. I wish they had included more, though. Just maybe at least two of the Rebel Fleet Troopers, just to kind of get the idea across that, they are massable. Since they are massable, right? And then we get the two droids. So C-3PO, and we've got tons and tons of C-3PO, but it's appropriate enough to include in this set, I think. And R2-D2, it absolutely needs to be here. He's absolutely a must. No matter how many R2-D2s they have made of this exact same style, this exact same design, it needed to be in this set. Now, I already mentioned that the price to part ratio on this one is significantly better than the previous two large Corvette models that they've done. And the price to volume of stuff ratio is only just a little bit worse than the last one, the most recent one that they made. But still, to me, I look at this and I look at the price tag of $200 US, and I know that relative to the value of currency, it's going to be even more expensive in many other countries, which is completely unfair and just worse. Just looking at it from the perspective of a currency that I understand the value of, this is expensive. And no, that's not a new thing to say. And some people are probably tired of hearing, Lego is expensive. Yes, Lego is expensive. It has always been expensive. It has actually gotten a little bit cheaper over time, especially when you adjust for inflation, for the number of pieces and the level of detail included in their sets. But as a part of that process, that evolution towards detail and the inclusion of smaller and smaller pieces and more smaller pieces to create that detail, and in many cases better accuracy to source material where appropriate, they've just had to make entire models smaller. And it makes it feel like you're not getting as much just in front of you at first glance as perhaps you once could. It makes it feel like you're spending a whole lot of money for something that isn't that massive, because honestly, it just isn't. I'm personally not looking forward to paying $200 for it, but I will pay it. I will get the set, I will review it, and I will be happy to at least have had finally a Tantive 4, an Imperial Blockade Runner, a Corellian Corvette in model form, which I've never had in any form. And I've actually been quietly a fan of the Corellian Corvettes, not because of the appearance in A New Hope, but because of the appearance in the original LucasArts X-Wing game. So overall, looking forward to this, not looking forward to paying the price for it. I think that it looks better than the previous versions by far, but still has some issues that I'm not happy with. That's it for my thoughts, though. Thanks for watching. I look forward to being able to give you guys a review of this, hopefully around the time when it's released on May the 3rd, but I may have bad luck as usual, and it may sell out instantly thanks to people camping out. I'm not going to camp out for it. I will get it as quickly as I reasonably can. So wish me luck. I'll talk to you again soon.